Welcome to the second episode of Meet Your Neighborhood Police. I am Judy, and today we have two of our favorite police officers. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, my name is Mir Chabiga. I'm one of the Regent Park neighborhood officers.
And I'm Farzad Gatbi, Merchant's partner in Regent Park as a neighborhood officer.
So today's episode is all about the program and what it entails. So to start, can you guys tell us about the history of the Neighborhood Police program?
Sure. The program started sometime in May of 2013 when Toronto Police Services Command came with the idea of improving the relationship between Toronto Police Service and the communities. So each of the 17 divisions throughout the city had to identify a priority neighborhood, and in 51 division was Regent Park, and they deployed 4 officers to work exclusively in that kind of neighborhood in order to learn the population, build relationships with the tenants, with the residents, with stakeholders, and basically be ambassadors for Toronto Police in that neighborhood to bring back the requests and the what actually the neighborhood wants, and also to inform back, with what Toronto Police is planning, or any results of ongoing investigations, or basically just strategies used, throughout a certain time frame in that neighborhood.
Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, so what we did was, as we were police officers beforehand, and we worked in Regent Park as well before, we wanted to have a nice, good, positive approach, which we wanted to do is just basically be the boots on the ground and get to know the residents, get to know the schools, get to know the youth, get to know the businesses, get to know all the stakeholders, and explain to them what we're here for, and basically what we want from Regent Park which is what Regent Park needed from us, and how do we improve our relationship, how do we work together, how do we tackle some of the challenges that we're facing, and that's how we basically started.
So what does your role entail?
So basically, our roles became more and more clear, which was number 1, community engagement, and number 2, programming, like program with the youth, program with the elderly, and also community programming, like barbecue events and so forth. And number 3, enforcement, because at some point, once we were getting more and more involved, we were tackled with some challenges as well that we needed to act upon it, and that also meant some enforcement.
So what's the typical day like for you guys?
We don't really have 2 days that are the same since we started this program. Many times we have to adjust our hours according to the needs of the community. Typical day, I would say, we especially now after a while, when people know us and they have our contact information and they build that trust in us, they are calling us directly to report different types of events that are taking place, or any crime that's happening on their property, if there's a TCHC, Toronto Community Housing, or if there's any agency, social agency that works, or youth programming. If they have any kind of issues, they're reaching out to us because now they know us, they have our contact information, so then we can follow up and obviously, try to solve the issues. What it's special about this program is that obviously one of the big requirements from an officer, taking upon this kind of work is you have to really believe in the program. You have to see the value of the program, and if you do that, then you will give 100%, and you will be true to yourself and to the community. And if you're a genuine person, the community will see that, they will respond, and they will begin to trust you and reach out to you for any assistance.
That doesn't necessarily come to our attention, and that was one of the challenges we were facing before as well. Is that there were not that many service calls coming from Regent Park. And as we got to know Regent Park more and more on an intimate basis, we realized there's a lot of issues that doesn't get reported. And those are the things we start slowly chipping at it and getting to understand what the issues are. And we would sit around and gather around with the stakeholders and the people and residents and see how we can be more proactive and, as opposed to reactive and try to curb some of those challenges. So that's part of our role and that's part of our job description, is to also prevent and not just get out there and just do high fives and and look cool. I mean, it's cool to be that way, but at the end of the day, we have a job to do, and that's to make the community safer.
Great. So as you know, we do have an audience Q&A segment, so we're going to go to one of the questions. So because of the neighborhood that you guys patrol, Regent Park, they have a huge history of issues with police officers. So one of the questions is asking about the policy on stopping and asking for identification. So what's the police policy on that?
Basically, one of the main reasons this program came to life is because of the disconnect between the community and the police, right? Officers didn't really know what's happening and didn't really know who's who in the neighborhood. So also the community had that perception about officers, they're just like kind of robots, they see the uniform and already, they have that standoffish approach. And obviously there were some issues in the past with stopping people and identifying them. It was a huge issue in the last couple of years, and that's not longer in practice. No officers in Toronto can stop somebody just for because they don't like the way they look or where they are or the time of the day or time of the night, or you need serious grounds or reasons to believe that that person is involved, was involved, or is planning to be involved in a criminal activity, or provincial for that matter. Or obviously, under the Highway Traffic Act, you have the right to stop different, drivers of vehicles or pedestrians or cyclists to inquire about their, lighting on a bicycle or a belt, or all the equipment that's required. Also with the drivers, they have to be fully insured, they have to have a driver's license to be allowed to be on the road. So with that said, I can say that carding process is no longer a common procedure. It's not something that any officer in Toronto is doing anymore. And we're only acting based on information that the person is involved in some type of activity.
Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, just to go out there and just to stop someone who's just walking on the sidewalk and just say, we want their identification, that doesn't happen. It has to be somewhat criminal in nature, that we're investigating something, and that has to be explained to the person that we're stopping. So if we were stopping someone, we would explain that. But having said that, again, us as officers and neighbor officers, even officers in the vehicles, we're all human beings. We all have the right to stop and speak to anyone that we wish, and even people can stop officers and speak to them. So that communication, that is our basic level of communication, that's still there. Whether that person wants to speak to us or not, that's their decision at the end of the day. The only time that changes is if we're investigating something criminal in nature, and that's something that officers would have to explain to the person. The reason we're stopping you is because of A, B, and C, and it has to be criminal in nature, and therefore that person would know why they're being stopped, and that gives us the justification to go further. Yes, I mean, in the past, maybe the communication wasn't there as much. The laws were not as clear, but it's clear now that it's against the law just to go ahead and for us to go ahead and investigate someone for just no criminal reason. We have to have a reason, and that has to be explained. But as far as us as neighborhood officers, we're stopping everybody because we're saying hello and we're saying hi and we're getting to know people and we want people to know us. That's very important because we need to have that human connection. We don't want to be just like robots and only talk to people if they did something wrong. We want to talk to people just because they're people, and people, we're social we're animals, and we need to speak to one another. We cannot be antisocial.
That's I just want to add on to what Farza was saying. That's one of the amazing aspects of neighborhood policing. In the past, when we had the carding, when you stop people, just to find out who they are and what they're about, now we can do that in a very civil manner, in a civil way, because we are interacting with people. Maybe we know you from one of our programs, or we know because you're neighbors to another person that we have interactions with, or your son or your daughter is in one of our programs. So we see you all the time, and then that's how we build relationships. That's how we get to know. We get introduced from person to person. Parents are calling us, many times when they have issues with their children. So that human aspect of policing, it's stressed to the max, in this program, because as far as I was saying, we have to communicate. Communication is huge between people and also between institutions. That's the only way we can create a safer and more secure environment and a better neighborhood.
Great. So what are some of the challenges besides that for you guys?
Well, every day we are faced with different challenges, and I would say, in my opinion, some of the challenges we face is that we're a very diverse community, culture, and a lot of people that are new in this environment, they're trying to adjust to this environment that they're living. There are some people that have lived here for a very long time, but they've lived in a very secluded area where they don't get out as much, and there's not that much communication, and what they see in the media is what they always believe. And those are some of the challenges, because Canada is very close to U.S., and a lot of stuff that we get from the media from there, we're buying into that, and that becomes a bit of a challenge, and we need to educate people about that we're here in Toronto, we're here in Regent Park, and we need to focus of what we're faced here, and some of the challenges here, not something that happens in another country, and we don't inherit this. Those are different laws, different lands. So those are some of the challenges that we go through every day, that we need to communicate. Again, communication and just educate.
Great, thank you so much. And did you want to add quickly?
Well, another challenge that came to my mind, now it's not only the challenges that we encounter out on in the neighborhood with general public, but also within the station, because it's a new program within the service. We didn't really have enough understanding from other officers about what the program is about, so we had a hard time. Police officers, someone compare them with shepherd dogs. Like you're protecting the flock. You make sure everybody's safe, and you keep the wolves outside, right? So the sheep can enjoy their lives. So due to that, A-type personality, we're more inclined to go after the bad guys and put them in jail and all that. So this program is a little bit different. So it was a little bit different, difficult for some officers to understand what the dynamics and what exactly we're doing in the neighborhood. But now, after a certain time, that's being cleared out, and from the beginning we got a lot of support from the command, but now more and more patrol officers are understanding our role, and they're getting to appreciate us.
So that's all the time we have for the second episode of Meet Your Neighborhood Police. We want to thank police officers Biga and Gopti for being in studio today. And I just wanted to mention that we hope you enjoyed the show, and please stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.